She is a extremely nice lady, but you could not walk in that food court without hearing it.
Sample. Like when I was a kid, like I legitimately like would go in with a jacket, walk by, get a sample. If I didn't have any money, I'd walk by, get a sample, go in the bathroom, take my jacket off, wrap it around my waist or whatever, thinking I was cool or funny or whatever. I'm just a little 13-year-old. And then I'd walk by again thinking, oh, I'm going to get another sample because I'm looking different. She gave you a sample anyway. She didn't care. You could walk by 30 times and still get a sample. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are here at the midnight release for another good episode. I feel like I'm probably going to overpower Austin a little bit with the memories that we talk about today.
Yeah, most definitely. I have some, but you definitely spent more time at the mall. I did end up working at the mall, so I have a couple of things from that.
That is true.
But other than that, I mean, you literally could just walk to it. So you definitely have more than I do.
Yeah, the fact that I lived right behind the mall, and just the amount of memories that span from when I was just a kid all the way up through kind of those key formative teenage years, and even as a young adult, is way too much for one episode, but I'm going to try and squeeze them all in here.
Yeah, so today our story mode is Meet Me at the Mall. So, of course, those mall memories are definitely going to be most of the content. It's also a general nostalgia feel because we'll start talking about things that are into it, and then we'll get into, like, early social media days, playing outside until the lights came on, and everything else around that time. So, Chase, what else do we have on the agenda?
Yes, so side quest today. We're going to jump into another listener memory card segment. So we've had several weeks worth of questions that we haven't talked about. So we're going to go through and talk about some of those. We've got some responses around GameStop stories, reminisce a little bit again about Blockbuster, glory days of film, talk about some favorite handhelds that we heard about on TikTok. And then also kind of in line with the story mode content today, talk about some of those favorite forgotten stores too.
Oh my GameStop memories. Did we hear from anyone that used to work with us on
those? I think we had a couple comments from people that we worked with. So some of these stories we can, add some additional context to for sure. Which, kind of makes sense. And the other side quest that we have for today is another co-op mode. I'm actually going to be sitting down with my friends Brian and Laura. You've heard me bring them up before on previous episodes. But we're going to sit down and talk about their mall memories as well, which theirs obviously in general mall memories kind of are similar. When you think about malls, they're pretty similar across the country, I would say, but they actually live about an hour and a half from here in Lexington instead of Louisville. But we're going to talk about some of their memories, also around some of their favorite games that had come up in previous episodes that we haven't dove into as much. But yeah, that's going to be kind of what we get into today. As far as kind of the story mode and kind of some of the side quests.
Gotcha. There's absolutely no way we're going to ever keep these episodes at exactly an hour, is it? So
yeah, this one likely will probably be shorter than our last couple. The one where we had Wayne and Austin, obviously, or Wayne and Howie, obviously went really, really long. And then we've just had so much content to get into with the
Game Awards extended ours.
Yeah. Between going through our takes and then the recap of the Game Awards, definitely took up a lot of extra time. But that being said, let's go ahead and just jump into our story mode. Meet me at the mall. All right. So I lived quite literally within walking distance of J-Mall.
Yeah, we used to go to it a lot, but when we went to it, I mean, there was so much of a difference. And like some of the stuff I'm sure you're going to talk about, I'm going to be like, yeah, I do remember that being there. Because like I remember going to KB Toys because we would always go. We'd go to church on Sunday, and then we'd go to
doing the God Squad thing.
Oxmoor, St. Matthew. Was it one of them didn't have a food court, or was it St. Matthew's that had the food court?
Oxmoor doesn't have a food court.
So maybe we would go to St. Matthew's and then we'd go to Oxmoor because there was
I mean, they're right on the other side of the interstate.
Yeah, so we would go. I think that's what we did because there would be. Was St. Matthew's the one that it used to be upstairs? You know what I'm talking about? Or was that?
I don't know. Yeah, St. Matthews did have something upstairs.
It was like an upstairs where you had to take an elevator to go up.
I think so. I never spent a lot of time out there.
See, we only did because there was shops out there like my grandma liked to shop at. So
yeah, well, that's fair. I mean, I always consider Oxmoor like the bougie mall. So the fact that you all went out to the bougie mall just means you all were more bougie than me.
So, well, I said sometimes because we went to my grandmother's favorite store, even to this day, is J.C. Penney's.
Yeah, and you know that's the thing. I mean, there was, let's see, all the malls generally had. I know J Mall did. You had J.C. Penney's, you had Macy's, you had Dillard's,
and Sears.
And Sears. Now Sears is gone.
Like, yeah, which I'm going to be honest, we spent a ton of time at Sears because that was my grandpa's favorite store because of the tools.
Well, yeah, because I mean, Sears had everything. I mean, it had tools, but it also had a lot of tech. And like I remember, that was one of the things, and we've talked about it at GameStop from behind the counter, how parents would drop their kids off, play the demo units, and all that stuff. But like I was that kid. Like if I went into Sears with my mom or my grandpa or something like that, I would find my way to the gaming section at Sears to play on the demo units. Which you obviously can't see what I'm doing, but you remember how the screens were all up. Like I feel like that's why we all have neck problems now
because you have to look up,
staring at the TVs up above and everything. But I don't know. I mean I know St. Matthews has a couple big boxes now. Like I think it still has Dillard's. But I think Macy's and Penney's is really pulled out by now.
Man, to be honest with you, we could have did a co-op mode with Becca on this one because she knows all the answers about St. Matt's and Oxmoor.
So. Yeah, see, and I didn't spend a whole lot of time there. But I will say what surprised me. So the other day, actually, I went over to St. Matthews the other day because I wanted to get this Halo Hallmark ornament because we got the holidays coming up in a couple of days. But I was shocked to see that St. Matthews Mall still has fountains. And the reason it shocked me is because when I was putting notes together for this episode, and I was thinking back to, my wee tyke years as a little kid, because you said you didn't remember them. J Mall had fountains at kind of all the various center court type areas.
Well, wait a second. Wasn't there one right outside of where GameStop used to be?
Yes.
It was like right there because it was in front of Dillard's and...
Yep, it was. They had these seating areas, first off, that dug in. Like they were inlet seating areas. And then they had these fountains. That was the main center court area where there was a couple fountains. And then in J Mall, when you walk in the food court, or you walk in the entrance, the food court's over there to the right, straight ahead in front of where now is Victoria's Secret was another fountain. And then down that way where Sears used to be, also used to be a fountain. And those fountains, like I thought they were...
What is that now?
The big box store? That's that BJ's place.
Oh, the
BJ's wholesale or whatever. Yep. We were having a whole conversation about BJ's, and then not those. Not those. The store, and I guess there's a restaurant that you also that's called BJ's.
That has it's funny enough in the St. Matthews Mall.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't.
Or is it an Oxmoor?
We were having a whole conversation.
It's an Oxmoor.
I thought you were talking about of course, the bougie mall. So if you want a BJ, you got to go to the bougie mall, I guess. Anyway.
It's in the Jefferson Mall now.
So yeah, it's just the wholesale type. So, but the thing about the fountains though is I was shocked when I went over to St. Matthews and saw them. So I'm sure you've noticed there's coins in those fountains. Yeah. So the whole thing was obviously you throw a coin in the fountain and make a wish or whatever. But the other thing that J Mall had that I know you don't remember, but where the food court is was a Walgreens. Like, it was not a food court. Like, before food courts became a thing, that was just a giant Walgreens. Like, and...
Yeah, I didn't know that.
That was when I was real little. But what's funny, now, I don't...
Because you all lived there literally your entire childhood, right?
Yeah, somehow, some way, I managed to live in the exact same neighborhood, but 4 different houses in the first 18 years of my life. Like, literally, the last house that I was in was my grandmother's house.
House?
That was a shindig house, yep. Which I feel like we're going to wind up with a whole episode about shindigs at some point. So literally this neighborhood was right behind the mall, and you cut through an elementary school to get to it. Got a lot of memories of that school as a kid and everything else.
Teenager
Yeah,
growing up.
yeah, exactly. But
Played football there.
we did play football there like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning during a shindig. But the thing is, from my grandmother's house, if I was standing on the front porch of my grandmother's house, I could see the other 3 houses that I lived in. But
really,
yeah, like from there, like I lived 4 houses up on the right, 7 houses up on the left, and then forward on Charmaine, I think it's like 7 or 8 houses up on the right. Now, obviously, I didn't know you all until I was at my grandmother's house.
yeah.
But the thing that I was told, because I don't remember this story, but apparently my cousin would take me to the mall. First off, he'd use me as a toddler to pick up women. Like, he openly would tell me that, because I guess I was an adorable toddler and would give googly eyes, and then that led him to be able to get dates and things. But there's 2 stories that he told me, and you've met Biggin, haven't you?
Mm.
Oh, okay. But 2 stories that he told me. One, I had a really bad habit, apparently, of yanking my diaper off. So we're talking that little. Like, that's how little I was. But yanking my diaper off and jumping in the fountain. And he'd have to climb in the fountain and go after me, because I would get, like, in the middle of the fountain, because it wasn't just, at St. Matthew's, it's just water. Like, there's not actual fountains. But in J Mall, there was, like, an actual fountain. So I apparently, as a toddler, I take my diaper off and run out in the fountain and everything else. But then also, the other story from when I was real little is, I guess I accidentally, he was in GNC, the vitamin place.
Yeah.
And I guess I accidentally tripped and I pulled down some girl's skirt, apparently, which led, I think, to a date, because they ended up having to have a conversation apologizing about me being a little toddler pulling down somebody's skirt, apparently. But the fountains and Walgreens are like the epitome of nostalgia when I think of Jefferson Mall, which breaks my heart.
I do remember some of the fountains, because how would you say you were whenever they actually got removed?
It had to have been, like, I feel like I should have Googled when the food court went into J Mall, but it had to be in, like...
I definitely don't remember a time that the food court wasn't there.
Yeah, I feel like the food court had to have gone in like 96 or 97. And then the
fountains were probably early 2000s.
Yeah, the fountains.
Because like I said, I do remember, now that speaking about it, I do remember, because now obviously that area's bungee and massage chairs,
the trampoline things and everything else. Well, and that's the thing.
They have like popcorn store right there. That's really good.
Well, where's the popcorn store?
It used to be right outside of GameStop.
Well, okay, so yes, I remember.
It's not an actual. It's one of the kiosks. It's not a.
Gotcha. See, there was a store in J Mall when you walked in the mall over to the left called Gourmet Corn and More. That was the first place my sister ever got a job, and they did like specialty popcorn and all of that.
So do you remember? I don't know if it's still there now, but first off, Dairy Queen bought Orange Julius.
Yes. Yep,
yeah. So in the Orange Julius,
I don't think it's there anymore.
Because you would go straight in, like when you come out of the food court, take a right. It's right there.
It was right there on the left. Yeah.
We used to get when I worked at GameStop in the mall. So as we spoke, I don't know. We've said it multiple times over the episodes. I ran the GameStop in the mall.
That's right. Yeah.
I became really good friends with the dude at Chick-fil-A. His name's Kevin. He was great.
God's chicken.
Yeah, and he would take care of me when I needed it, whatever. And then I used to go to.
They took that Chick-fil-A out too.
Well, it makes sense because
they've got it. They've got that big shopping center over there now.
So, which it's something else now. I remember because I saw it. It's a different restaurant. Obviously.
Oh yeah.
But the only, like thinking about it, and we'll get into this because I'm sure you have something about the actual food court.
Oh yeah.
Well, we'll just talk about food courts now.
Yeah.
Those restaurants have changed so many times over the years.
Well, that's the thing. I remember, like, it was, you had Chick-fil-A, you had Arby's.
Yeah, Arby's. If I remember right, it was Chick-fil-A, then Arby's, and then, what was the corner restaurant back in the day?
The corner restaurant is the one I can't remember.
The corner's the one that changes all the time.
Yeah, it has been a rotating door, and now all of them are, like, generic mall food, but anyone who is from Louisville.
Just out of curiosity, before you go into this story, is Jade Garden still there, or is it gone too?
No, I think it's something different. I think it's still like an Oriental food place, but it's not called Jade Garden. I remember Jade Garden, the green.
Jade Garden wasn't bad because Jade Garden was really good because of you could go and
Oh, they had it where you could pick your own.
You could pick your own, but it was a buffet, and you could literally, as long as your box would shut, you were good, so you could get so much food.
Right. Well,
it still doesn't compare to the place you're getting ready to talk about.
Yeah. Anyone listening from the local area knows exactly where I'm going with this. And we're talking about the best Chinese food, I'm going to say, in this country. Like, that's what I'm going to say. Like, in this country, it is the best Chinese food that I've ever had. Chinese-American food, however you want to call it.
It is very good, yeah.
Max Orient, inside Jefferson Mall's food court. As soon as you walk in the front door, immediately to your right, I swear this place is what is still keeping that mall open. Because it is consistently busy, 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 busy. I remember I used to eat there like 5 to 7 days a week, even before I started working at the mall. And then when I started working at the mall, I was eating there every single time. And, it's called Max Orient, but I always call it Sample. Now, some people would argue, why do you call it Sample? That's not very nice. But no, they used to. I don't think they really do it much anymore, but they used to.
She does.
Does she? Okay.
She does.
I mean, you walk by and they're just like Sample.
And there is a specific lady that has worked there for as long as I can remember.
It's as long as it's been open.
I haven't actually. You know what? I've seen her. I'd say it's been a while though. But I don't want to say it.
She is definitely still there because I worked in that mall from the ages of 16 to 18. But I went to that mall consistently eating there from probably 12 years old until 16. So we're talking, 8-9 years, that I was in that mall all the time. And when you're a mall employee and you eat at the food court, you get a mall employee discount.
Yep.
It's like 5 or 10%, something like that. I am now 36 years old. First thing is, if any of the original people are still there, I still get a mall employee discount. To this day, they still will give me a mall.
They got to know you don't actually work there anymore.
Oh, 100%, but they still give it to me. But also, I was just there. I went there today, actually, before I went to the card shop. But just a couple weeks ago, I went, and we had a whole conversation about my son and everything else.
With her?
Yeah, with her, and showing her pictures. And we were talking about, we're obviously going into the holidays, and, they've got the Mega Cavern here in Louisville and Lights Under Louisville and all that stuff. So we were talking about that. And apparently her and her kids and grandkids go every year. And I've never gone before. So,
She is a extremely nice lady, but you could not walk in that food court without hearing it.
Sample. Like, when I was a kid, like, I legitimately, like, would go in with a jacket, walk by, get a sample. If I didn't have any money, I'd walk by, get a sample, go in the bathroom, take my jacket off, wrap it around my waist or whatever, thinking I was cool or funny or whatever. I'm just a little 13-year-old. And then I'd walk by again thinking, oh, I'm going to get another sample because I'm looking different. She gave you a sample anyway. She didn't care. You could walk by 30 times and still get a sample. Now, apparently, though, this whole thing of sample and all that is not exclusive to Jefferson Mall. Apparently, that's kind of a staple part of mall culture. But it is definitely, like, anyone from the area, when you say sample, they know exactly.
Now you have, like, your staple, like, mall foods. Like, we were talking about Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is in almost every mall.
Yeah. If they don't have one local right outside the mall, they're always in a mall.
There is a Chinese restaurant.
Yep,
in almost every mall.
Restaurant. Yep.
There's usually a sub restaurant.
Yeah,
in every
Charlie's.
So they took that out of the Jefferson Mall, I think.
Yeah.
I liked that place a lot.
That place was pretty good.
So when I ran the mall for the winter,
yeah,
I was obviously eating at the mall all the time.
Was it a sub place or like a Philly cheesesteak?
It was like a hot sub, like Philly cheesesteak, like a Quiznos.
Yeah, okay.
Which is not around anymore. I don't think.
Quiznos was so good.
I liked Quiznos. I'm a big Penn Station guy. I like Penn Station a lot.
I love Penn Station.
But like nostalgic food, there's no food. Like, I will never forget walking in, and my grandma loved Max Orient. My grandpa would take us whichever restaurant we want to go. We'd go to. We went to Arby's a lot when we were younger.
Yeah.
But now I probably from 15, 16 on, if I go to the mall, I'm getting it.
Well,
now, but what I was getting at is there are staple, like, I guess the cuisine in each one.
Yeah.
But there is only one sample.
Period. I will.
Max Orient is the Chinese.
No.
I love it. I love it.
When I moved, I was obviously upset about being away from Sample, but I went to the mall, where I was at, and they had a Chinese place,
It just wasn't the same.
and I got it, and it was fine for what it was, but it was not the same. Like I would only ever go there when I was like really, really like missing home or whatever, and it's like this is the closest thing I can get to Sample, so that's what I'm going to get.
So fun fact for just the listeners, like, so when Chase would come into town, we always see each other when Chase comes into town. Like, make it a point.
Yep.
The two things that Chase always did was he would go the day before he left, he would go get Chinese food.
Yep.
We would always eat El Nepal.
Yep.
Like, we ate El Nepal every time he was in town.
El Nepal is another staple locally, burrito au carbon steak with a big old thing of queso, like clockwork.
And you put the queso all over the...
queso and salsa all over the burrito. And then, usually, now this I wouldn't do with you all. I would do it myself, and it was in the evening. But then I go to White Castle because I didn't have a White Castle where I was at either. So I would always hit Sample, El Nepal, and then I'd get White Castle.
Which, speaking of, El Nepal is in the St. Matthews Mall.
Yes. No, and I didn't know that until I did a stint working at St. Matthews Mall. I worked at Spencer's, and I'll get to that. So I worked over in that mall and had no idea they had an El Nepal. Now, as you know, with me, I don't have a gallbladder anymore. So if I eat El Nepal, I've got to have access to a bathroom pretty quickly. So I have to be very strategic on El Nepal. But the other thing, thinking about the mall though, that they don't have anymore that is like very upsetting, arcades. Arcades used to be like textbook traditional arcades. I'm sure you don't remember Aladdin's Castle in J Mall. I feel like it probably left before.
I'm going to be honest. Like, if I think about it, so we didn't really shop a lot on the Sundays.
Yeah.
At times. Like, we would literally go eat. Like, that's what we do. And they liked going to one of the 2 or 3 malls because there was multiple options, and it made it easy for everybody to get what they wanted.
Right.
Whether you went to St. Matthews, like I said, Oxmoor didn't have it, but St. Matthews Mall for their food court or the Jefferson Mall, like, you had options.
Yeah.
So
well, and that checks out, but the arcades that were in the malls were great. And now I will say I feel that they have started to do, and I'm not counting, like, I think St. Matthews Mall has a Dave & Buster's, and if it does it still have it?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. My favorite mall ever, which is Opry Mills Mall in Nashville, they've got a Dave & Buster's, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the OG arcades.
Yeah, because I was gonna say, like, I'm sure the Mall of America has something up in Minnesota, but I've never been to it.
I've never been to Mall of America. I want to go.
I think it'd be cool to go.
Yeah,
just to see.
Somebody I work with lives in Wisconsin area, I think, and then it's in Minnesota, so it's not. It's in a general vicinity, but I want to go to Mall of America.
Yeah, I just want to go just to see it.
Now, so the thing about the mall, though, I think a lot of people feel this way, that malls are starting to die. Whether it's outlets or big box or online or whatever it is. I
think it's online.
Because, I mean, every time I've gone to a mall, like J Mall or any mall for that matter, they're just really slow. Like, even right now, we're in the holiday season, and it is just dead.
I haven't been to a mall in a while. I was talking to a buddy of mine who had to go. He was looking for a certain perfume for his mom for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
He said he went to St. Matthews Mall because he came over and seen me afterwards. And he said, dude, it was the weirdest thing. He's like, it was busy, but it wasn't busy. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, used to be like shoulder to shoulder everywhere you go. Now it's like you can look in a store and you can see there's people in the store, but it's not the same way.
It's totally different. But I think a big reason of it, though, is some of the stores. Like, I remember in J Mall, some of the stores, and I don't know if you remember any of these, but did you ever shop in Gadzooks at all? No? So it was... Now, I know you shopped at Hot Topic at some capacity.
Always have, yeah.
So Gadzooks was...
So fun... Go ahead, but I have a fun story about Hot Topic.
Well, so Gadzooks was a brighter Hot Topic. Because obviously Hot Topic was much different back in our day.
Well, back in the day where it was like bands and stuff.
Yes.
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So,
But no, Gadzooks had. So do you remember? And I still had. Well, Mom has found them on eBay and ordered them for me. But do you remember those like silky Dragon Ball shirts, the button ups that I wear sometimes? So Gadzooks sold those. And a bunch of other so it was like anime stuff, fandom stuff. Like they were kind of like if Gadzooks made a comeback right now with the stuff they carried back then, they would be booming with the way all these pop culture things are a huge deal now. But it was where I bought my first Dragon Ball shirt ever was at a Gadzooks. And like when I went through my phase of, I went through every type of phase that you can imagine clothing wise. Like I went through and I'm going to use stereotypical terms here as I describe this, but I went through kind of a country bumpkin phase where I wore like camo and wore Dodge hats and NASCAR hats and listened to nothing but country music and all that. I went through not like a full blown goth phase, but like nothing but metal and wearing black and all that. But I also went through a phase where like all I listened to was rap and hip hop, and I literally went to a kiosk in the mall and had this massive like iced out watch with a massive iced out bracelet, big old chain, and at Gadzooks I bought a like 5XL Dragon Ball jersey that I wore. It was like baby blue in color. I feel like if I could Google it, I could pull it up. And I remember buying that and bringing it home. And, you know, my mom, everybody talked about how oversized it was and everything else. But I loved that store and loved that jersey. But that is probably where I bought all of my clothes back then. But also Hot Topic. I know you said you had a Hot Topic story. Obviously, Hot Topic has changed drastically from back in the day.
I mean, it still has a lot of it, like some of the older stuff. Like it has like the metal, like the band tees and stuff like that. But it's very nowadays. Hot Topic is very collectible and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean they've got they some of them have whole Funko Pop walls. And all kinds of stuff.
Well, back in the day, whenever I was really young, one of my parents' best friends' sons, his name is Billy, who actually for a long time was one of my brother's best friends. It was his birthday, and he was really into, which if you knew Billy nowadays, completely different, but he was really into Korn and Slipknot, and mom thought it was crazy. But we went into Hot Topic and had to get him a shirt. That is the fastest I've ever seen my mom go in, buy something, and get out of the store. Like, she did not want to be in that store by any means.
Parents were so worried about Hot Topic and so judgy about how dark it was and everything else.
I feel like Hot Topic got bought by somebody. Well, and is now no longer the parent company. Like, it's a subsidiary of a different parent company.
So, yeah, there's definitely something because Hot Topic and I think Box Lunch are all owned by the same outfit.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know who the outfit is, but in J Mall, so you have Hot Topic on the right, Spencer's on the right. You mentioned it right at the top of the show, but probably one of the best mall stores to go away was KB Toys.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Toys R Us obviously wasn't really in the mall, but it was right next to the mall. But, dude,
KB Toys in the mall was... Dude, it was fantastic.
It was. I mean, like the fact that we don't have toy stores at all now.
Well, they're different type of toy stores.
Well, they're toy sections within stores.
Well, I think isn't the Toys R Us over by Olive Garden still open? Or no, it's Bob's now, isn't it?
Yeah, no.
Toys R Us is
Toys R Us is gone in general now.
No, Toys R Us is still here. Well, like even at the Thanksgiving parade, Jeffrey.
Yeah,
because Little John was on the Toys R Us.
They're doing pop-ups and stuff inside of Macy's now.
That's what it was.
That's what it is. Yeah, but that KB Toys in J
dude,
Mall,
I will never forget. So that's the one store. So when my grandma wanted to shop and we had to be there for longer than just eating, my grandpa would take me, Wayne, and whatever grandkid he has that were technically his responsibility because my parents would work.
Yeah.
And we would go in that store and he would say, if y'all can find something for X amount of dollars, that's what we'll do. $10, $15, whatever it might be.
Dude, see.
But there was aisles. Like, there was like.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
I remember distinctly. Like, there was like aisles of toys. It was like the Walmart toy section on steroids is what it was.
100%. And it's funny you say that because my grandpa did the same thing. He would do it either with the dollar store, because you remember the dollar store was right next to Sears.
So I had one grandma that would do it with the dollar store, but it was you have $5 today. Pick out 5 items or whatever it is, because everything at dollar store is what she used to call it.
Oh yeah. Well, my grandpa, if we were coming out of Sears, or if we were walking near KB Toys, if he was feeling the itch to buy us something, it was so funny. He'd be walking with me, my sister and I, or my sister and me, and would be holding our hands and walking, and then he would act like and do a big dramatic that his feet were taking over his body and making him walk into. He was like, "Oh no, and we wound up in the. He's like, "Well, I guess I got to buy you a toy now," and he would tell us, in dollar store, pick out X amount of things. In KB Toys, it was like, "Oh, you've got X amount to spend." You
got $10.
Yeah. And I mean, KB Toys, Toys R Us, like we did talk about briefly with Toys R Us. That's where Toys R Us is where I first played the Pokemon card game, because they did the whole gym bag,
which
thing.
I believe we talked about this.
We did
in a couple episodes. Right?
But then of course, GameStop, obviously we both worked at, but GameStop used to be Babbage's, used to be Funcoland, used to be, actually Lisa reminded me of this. The reason why the GameStop sign in J Mall was not the traditional branded GameStop sign. It was a software, etc. was another one that GameStop kind of bought or took over or whatever. And then EB Games. I don't know if I said EB Games. But obviously all of your game stores. But then I mentioned during Be Kind Rewind a couple weeks ago, Suncoast Video. Like another store that just kind of died with time and things. But
I just saw one yet on here. RadioShack.
Yes.
Was RadioShack the one that was right outside the mall, or was that Circuit City?
Circuit City was outside of the mall.
That was the store, which now it's GFS, but it's...
Yes, yep, it's GFS.
That was Circuit City. Okay, so that store, remember the story that I've told? We've talked about it. We brought it up last week. We've talked about it before. My dad's truck was outfitted. That's where he got it from, was Circuit City at that store. That's where they put the TVs in. That's where they did all of it.
Yeah, because Circuit City did, just like Best Buy does too, but like the car sound systems. And
they will put them in for
install all that. Yeah, Circuit City was outside of the mall. Radio Shacks did have standalones, but I do remember Radio Shack being in the mall.
Does Best Buy still do that?
I don't know, honestly.
Because Best Buy's changed completely
I
too.
said that, and as I did, I was like, I don't know if Best Buy still does that or not. But
because they took all their movies out and everything.
Yeah, which is so depressing. But no, the other thing, I kind of alluded to it a second ago. I mean, the bulk of this comes from Jefferson Mall in Louisville. But St. Matthews Mall, I did, and I don't know, because the look on your face told me, I maybe had never told you, about me doing that stint at working at Spencer's at St. Matthews Mall. Had I not told you about that?
When was it?
So we're talking, let's see, I moved to Lexington in 2013. I moved back in 2013. So 2013.
I do remember you doing this, because it was. So you were just doing it part time, right?
Yeah. So
it was like an extra money gig type thing.
Did you ever know Danny at GameStop?
Mm-mm.
Manager had a perfect red beard. So Danny was a store manager that was part of kind of the group that we've talked about in the past that we all worked together. He ran Park Place for a while, but he ended up going to work at Spencer's. Well, when I moved back from Lexington, I was working at Office Depot on Shelbyville Road across from St. Matthews Mall. And I was looking for a little bit of extra money. I had some shenanigans going on. And Danny was working at Spencer's, and he was like, "Hey, man," I said, "if you want to work at Spencer's, I run the one at St. Matthews Mall." And I'm like, "Well, that's right across the street from me." I was like, "So that's cool. I'm down with that." So I did. I started working at Spencer's just 1 or 2 days a week. You have a look on your face that suggests...
Becca's up there listening to us because she just sent me this.
We are looking at a picture of Jeffrey from Toys R Us.
So it is a plush.
I guess our voices tend to carry a little bit.
Yeah.
But so I started working at Spencer's in St. Matthews Mall.
Now that you say this, I do remember you working there.
Well, and here's the thing. I feel that I didn't mention this before, but when you work in a mall, and I don't know if you had this, but I definitely did when I started working at J Mall at 16, 17. Everyone who worked in the mall were cool with other people that worked in the mall. Like
you conversated with everybody
like
around the mall.
I was friends with people at Arby's. I was friends with people at Max Orient.
Well, I made that comment because I told you about Kevin and Chick-fil-A.
Yes.
And
I was friends
there was a guy at Spencer's. I don't remember his name, but there was a guy, or not at Spencer's. It was at
Was it Hot Topic?
No. When you come out of GameStop, you take a left.
Yep.
Right across that little area, it's over on the left.
The jewelry store?
No, it was like a skateboarding store.
Oh yeah. It's not there anymore, but I know exactly which one you're talking about.
You remember what it's called?
No, I don't. But because that went in after I left the mall. I just remember it from a consumer standpoint. But nonetheless, everybody was real tight, right?
Yeah.
So when I started working at St. Matthew's Mall, all of those people had been there for a while, so they knew a lot of people in the mall. I didn't really know a lot of people in the mall, especially that mall, because I never spent time in that neck of the woods. But I'm going to tell you right now, don't get me wrong, my best work memories and things at GameStop, we've talked about some of them, but at Spencer's, I mean, we all know how entertaining Spencer's is, in general, as far as the products that they sell. But
you weren't allowed to go to the back half of the store when you were younger.
So there was a night where I was asked, so the way Spencer's worked, because it was the holidays, by the way. The only reason I worked there was for the holidays. And on a normal night, you'd have a manager working, which I was not a manager. I was just a part-timer. But you'd have a manager working. You'd have someone managing the front half of the store or watching the front half of the store and someone on the back half of the store. Danny thought it would be funny to have me work in the back half of the store. All right. So I honestly didn't know until this was my first day. Now, given we're talking 2013, so I'm 22, 23, 24. I can't do math right now. 2013, 1989. So I was 22, I think. And so I'm working. Did I just screw that up? No, wait a minute. 89, 99, 2009. So that's 20. So 24. Yeah, there you go. 24. Yeah. My bad. So 24, but I had no idea that Spencer's carried personal.
You didn't know that till you were 24?
I had no idea.
Oh, I knew that beforehand.
And, well, why did you find yourself having to make purchases in Spencer's for the personal?
No, but you didn't as a kid, like, go back there?
No.
They also had the real funny shirts, and my brother used to be a party house, so.
No, the shirt stuff. But anyway, so I'm working in the back of the store. Now, I feel that this story I have to censor to a certain degree, but a woman came in, and as always, you greet and ask if you need help with anything or anything like that. So, again, I have no idea what's in the back of the store. Danny did not tell me this. I had no orientation.
Is he working right now when this is all happening?
Yes.
Okay. This ought to be good.
Woman comes in, and I just, the normal thing, I'm like, hey, how you doing? Anything I help you find? This woman looks right at me. She says, yeah, I'm looking for some personal massagers. And I said, personal massagers? I said, Danny. And she stopped me. She said, no. I see them just right back over here. I'll let you know if I have any questions. I was like, okay. Well, then I look. Now, you may think to yourself, how did you not know? And I don't really have a good excuse as to why. I mean, I pride myself on being pretty hyper observant, but somehow I just blocked out all of those things. Well, anyway, this woman asked,
10 inches on a wall and you forget it.
I guess so. A woman hollers for me. She says, excuse me. And I said, yeah. She's like, is there any chance you could tell me what these do? Now, I'm going to let you try and guess what she had taken off the shelf and set in my hand, asking me if I knew what they did.
I'm not going to guess that.
So it was 2 metal balls. Okay. So, and apparently they are called, not apparently, I'm very much aware of what they're called, but they are for certain exercises that can be done. I'm not going to get super, super graphic. Anyway, she asked me what these were, and I, at the time, was very familiar with what these were. Therefore, I provided an explanation, which led to way more in-depth conversations with this woman who was probably in her, 70s that I did not want to have. But I'm working, so I'm answering the questions the best I could. And she wound up buying like $300 worth of various items from the back wall. After all that was said and done, because Danny checked her out, Danny came back roaring with laughter. He was apparently listening to this whole conversation and everything else. And from that moment on, he never had me work in the back again. He had me work in the front because I was watching for shoplifters and stuff. He literally did that just to screw with me. So I don't think I had told you those stories. But it was the most insanely
salesman gonna sell.
Yeah. And then, well, and like the thing was, I had just come off also working part-time at RadioShack because, Grant went to RadioShack.
Yeah.
And I went and worked for him part-time. RadioShack was part-time, commission. And so if I sold phones and stuff, I would actually make, even as a part-timer, I could make money on that. So my brain was in this commission mindset. I was like, do I make any money off of that? And he was like, you're not making money off a bunch of dildos and stuff. I was like, all right, fair enough. Here I am trying not to say that, and I ended up saying it. But anyway, that was just something about being in a mall. It just made sense to work in a store like Spencer's. It gave me the biggest mall vibe. It just.
I will say, like, as I got older, like, and I would go to the mall, like, once Wayne could really start driving, we would go or whatever. But a very, like, set how we went. Like, we would go, you go to the mall, you get Chinese food, and then you would go to, like, go down, you would go to GameStop, and then you go Hot Topic and Spencer's, and
Yep.
and I remember when I was 16,
FYE was down around.
When I was working for Tim, we would go down, and that's what we would do is when I would be on break or I'd get to work early.
Yeah.
I might go look at Spencer's or Hot Topic or something of that nature and kill some time.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I feel like the other thing that, and this would be kind of the last thing that we talk about on our story mode, but at a very high level.
Well, I got one more.
Okay. Well, I was just going to say the other thing that I think went hand in hand with mall culture, if you will, was kind of that rise of social media, like MySpace being such a huge thing at the time. The selfies, the group pictures, all of those things I feel kind of went hand in hand with each other. I feel there was the era of the mall before social media. That's where the fountains and the Walgreens that I talked about and all of that was. But when I think of the modern mall now, I feel that it came up with the rise of social media, which I don't know. I don't think you didn't do MySpace, did you? It was they already moved on.
So we did, but didn't. Our mom didn't want us to have one when MySpace got big.
That's fair.
Wayne, I know, still had one, but we didn't. I didn't really do. Facebook was the first real
social media thing that you did. Yeah, I tried to access the Wayback Machine online to find my old MySpace, but I think I must have actually either I can't remember the name or something because I can't find it. But
there's probably some pictures on there that
I've got pictures on my Facebook that shouldn't be on there.
Yeah,
but no, the very first picture that I have in a mall as not a child. I guess. I was 16. I just started working at GameStop, and there's a picture of me with a friend of mine, and you can tell I'm at work because I've got an Xbox lanyard around my neck. But I feel that kind of went hand in hand with kind of the mall culture at the time. I think.
Well, I know people when I was growing up, like when I was in school, they would hang out at the mall all the time, just like you were talking about. Like even whenever I
get out of school and everybody just meet up at the mall.
So
I can't. Well, and I can't tell you how many times as a kid too. You arrange a date with somebody and it's like, oh, we're gonna meet and walk around at the mall, for a few hours. That was super easy for me because my mom wouldn't have to drop me off or nothing like that. I would just walk from the house. It was like a mile walk to the mall.
Hey, I'm gonna go to the mall
Yeah. Well, no, I never was dishonest. I'm.
You were at the mall.
I was a little angel. I don't know what you are alluding to. I never did anything that I wasn't supposed to do as a kid.
Okay.
Now, just because I said I'm a little angel doesn't mean there might not be some horns holding up at Halo sometimes. But nonetheless, I never did anything dishonest as I was a kid.
So, but what I was going to get at is we're speaking of stores that just got out, and I know Wayne's going to give me crap for this one, but there used to be. So now, a lot of your stores that were standalone stores are just outlet stores.
Oh yeah.
And I remember back when I was a kid, we've made references to it before, but I'm a big Star Wars fan, just Disney in general, just enjoy it, The Disney store was in the Oxmoor Mall.
That's right. You mentioned that because your
Yeah.
grandma liked to go look at it.
Because my grandpa would take me in. That's where we would. That's one of the stores that I like to go to. And I remember getting. I believe I got was it a Buzz Lightyear out of there? I still have Woody, but Woody I've had forever. But yeah, I remember that Disney store, and even like when my wife and I got together,
I'm laughing.
Chase.
I'm laughing because you're talking about going to the Disney store in the mall and buying Woody and Buzz, and I was just telling a story about working at Spencer's with toys of the same name, basically. In the back.
But you're also talking about whatever I was like.
Well, yeah, okay, all right. Go
7,
ahead.
8 years old.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But that store was still, because if I remember right, when Beck and I first started dating, that store was still open because we bought a.
Yeah, I feel like they only just recently pulled out. Well, I mean,
probably the last 7 years, 6 years.
Yeah.
And they switched to. Well, they have the outlet still, but they really have like revamped their online store, and that's how they do everything.
Right. I completely forgot about the Disney store. Again, I didn't go out there very often, but I do remember like Opry Mills had a Disney store, so I do remember going into them at least once.
Yeah, there's just like, because I just remember it too, because I remember what they had to wear, the very like Disney cast clothes, like if that makes sense, like they had to wear
they had to fit into the vibe.
Yeah. So whereas like, you know, a lot of your stores, like, and that's something something else, just real quick, with like mall stores in general.
Yeah.
The people that worked in the stores, you could tell which store they worked in.
Oh, that is a valid point. Like
you could tell, like,
the people who worked at Hot Topic, you knew they worked at Hot Topic. People who worked at GameStop, you could tell worked at
now,
GameStop.
It's different. It changed though, because
you
used to have to wear slacks and a polo.
And a polo back then.
Yeah, I never had to do, like, when I got there is when they could start wearing jeans and stuff. So,
yeah, I remember when that became a thing, I was absolutely shocked. But yeah, jeans and a polo. But yeah, if somebody worked at Aeropostale or American Eagle, knew.
Because they were all in American Eagle, all in Aeropostale.
And you know what? I mentioned all my phases earlier. I went through that prep phase too, and I know it's probably hard for you to believe, but like I spent a bunch of time.
The country one's the one that gets me the most.
Well, so I never went to like a tanning bed, but I was outside a bunch, so I was super tan. My hair was actually a little lighter, naturally.
So it wasn't gray?
And I wore, you go to hell. And then, but I had Aeropostale shirts. I had a shell necklace that I would wear. And then I even wore the jeans with the holes in it and shit. Like, literally.
That is not something
I went through every phase imaginable.
So, but that was just something that I do remember, like, distinctly. Like, I can remember going in, like, you would go in Hot Topic, and you could tell that, like, you knew who worked at Hot Topic.
No, yeah.
Where it's like, you know what I mean? So,
well, I think it's going to do it for Meet Us at the Mall for our story mode. Let's go ahead and pivot to our first side quest, listener memory card. So this one, real quick, we're just going to kind of run through some of the previous questions, and I hadn't had the opportunity to share some of this stuff with Austin quite yet, so some of this will be news to him. But in some of our previous questions, we did ask for folks to share some information. One was around favorite gaming snacks or meals. We did get some comments on TikTok and through the pod itself that Austin's a little disappointed to hear this, but a lot of people had to agree with me and say White Castle. I got a lot of responses from people talking about White Castle being a go-to. I can just see the disgust on your face. But there was a lot of people echoing Red Bull, Monster, so typical energy drinks. And funny enough, because our theme around when we asked this question was Doritos dust, or LAN parties and Doritos dust. A lot of comments around Doritos and different chips and things. Which, did
any of them talk about the little hands like you all were talking about?
No,
or they just let it happen.
Fortunately, no one called us out on that. But I'm telling you, I still can't do chips playing a game unless I have, But I will say, Doritos wise, are you a nacho person or a Cool Ranch?
I like Cool Ranch.
Yeah.
I've gotten to where like they have obviously there's a million flavors now.
Yeah.
So the spicy Thai chili or sweet Thai chili or whichever one it is.
See, I don't like spicy stuff.
Yeah, but it's really good. But I like, out of the basic ones, Cool Ranch was it.
That's fair. We also asked about any stories from Blockbuster or just kind of the glory days around movies. And Ironically enough, one of the stories that I received in email was basically about. I kind of made the comment when we had our episode about how you walk down the adult aisle on accident, and your mom would drag you away or whatever. But what I forgot, but was a good call out, is you were in that aisle, but they had the little gray placards over.
Oh yeah, you had to move the placard
in order to see what it was.
So that's what they were. You were over there flipping the placards,
and it was so funny. I apologize. I have not had the chance to Google what this was called, but in the email they were talking about a one that they couldn't remember the name of it, but it had several famous adult film stars at the time, and it was like a parody of like Pirates of the Caribbean or something like that. Like it was all pirate themed. But yeah, so it was actually kind of a question like, hey, I'm curious what this was. Da, da, da. So I'll have to Google that to kind of get some more information. We did also last week talk about Pocket Power, talk about handhelds. So we did ask folks for their favorite handhelds, and we settled on, the Game Boy Color was our first thing that came to mind when we thought handhelds. But I know 3DS was your jam, PSP was my jam. It seems like the masses are definitely in your corner on that one. The comments and even texts from just friends all kind of chimed in and said the same thing. 3DS, like everyone was hounding on it. Now I am curious, what was your favorite 3DS game whenever you were on there? If you had to pick one. Because ironically enough, a couple of these messages included their favorite 3DS game. I'm curious how closely you align. I know it's a loaded question.
Yeah, the problem is there's so much. I played a lot of the remake of Majora's Mask.
See,
played it a couple times,
and so that's fun.
Yeah, I played that. Pokemon X, I was a big fan of it.
The top three were Majora's Mask, Ocarina of Time, and then it was one of the Pokemon.
Probably X and Y, probably.
Yep, X and Y. So those were the top ones for handhelds. Now, GameStop wise, some of the folks that I heard from were folks that we worked with in the past. And of course, the story has to be one that I was directly involved with. So there was, and I may have told you this one. I don't know if I did or not. But when I worked at Southland Terrace, I actually forgot all about this until I got this text message. But I had started talking to someone that lived in Lexington, so hour and a half away. I started traveling so I was working. We've already established I was a workaholic, right? So I would work 6-7 days a week at GameStop, but I was also spending 3 to 5 days a week in Lexington. And this person that I worked with, I will leave the names out for this one, ended up when I was at work, that individual that I was talking to at the time called my phone while I was in the back or something like that. And he answered it, and he also answered it like imitating a female, in which she got really, really mad about.
Did his name start with this letter?
And it was a whole thing. I got in all kinds of trouble with her, and it was a big, huge ordeal. Anyway, the email that I got included a picture that I forgot about that I took. Apparently, I don't remember this, but I guess I was very, very angry and upset with him to a point to where he said he would do anything. And I said, I need you to get on your knees and beg for my forgiveness.
Okay, no. I did know this story because I remember that picture, and it is who I thought it was.
Yes, there is, and the thing is, the picture is on my Facebook, and it's him on his knees, staring up with his hands like this, begging for forgiveness. Fortunately, I did get out of the doghouse, which was satisfying to hear. The other one, and we kind of already mentioned this when we talked about New Cut, the loft in the back room.
Mm-hmm.
Someone kindly reminded me that when I first took over that store, I don't know if it ever happened to you, but I like it. I'm guessing it didn't, because we've established I like it cold, you like it hot. But within my first week of running that store, I froze the AC, and I took over that store in June of 2009. So literally had to sweat out the customers, the employee. I mean, like there was nothing we could do because they couldn't fix the AC for like 3 days. So that was a awful reminder. But I'm assuming you never froze it because you don't like
Remember the store? I took it over when it was the other store. It moved.
Oh, they had moved. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but it was interesting to hear from folks that we worked with that kind of chimed in some additional information that came in from there. And then kind of the last little bit, I'm not going to talk about it in this segment, but talking about favorite mall stores or mall memories. Now, the reason we're not going to talk about it in listener memory card is because our next segment is called co-op mode, where I alluded to this at the start of our episode that co-op mode, I'm going to be talking with my friends Brian and Laura, going through some things that are centric to our story mode about mall memories, but also talking about some of their favorite games and things like that. That being said, I did mention that they are an hour and a half away in Lexington. So that is a segment that we're actually going to record separate from this. We're going to go ahead and pivot now to our co-op mode side quest.
So yes, this is in fact being recorded separate from Austin and myself, but we are going to have to pivot away from the co-op mode segment for this week. Was not able to get that hashed out ahead of this episode, so we are just going to jump back into the recording with Austin and myself as we finish up episode 8, Meet Me at the Mall.
That being said, though, we are going to go ahead now and hit our save point. And I have to say, the one thing about this episode is that it now has me craving sample like nobody's business. Like, I guess I'm going to have to make a run over there at some point this week.
Even though you've already had it today.
That's valid. I did have it today, but now I'm like wanting it even more.
So I'm very confident that the place is... That's what keeps that mall going. Like you said earlier, that is literally what... It's carried it on its back.
It really is. I mean, it's always got a line that's like a mile long. And, you know, even because of the holidays and stuff, like every time I would come back, I'd always go over there. But I just get this flood of nostalgia and get it all up in my feels every time I go out in that area, like every single time. But it just blows my mind of how, like, dead the mall is right now, even with the holidays. Now, Sample still has their line that's a mile long, but it just blows my mind, you know, how run down and jacked up it seems these days.
Yeah, and the fact they have all the security and the cameras and everything makes it a little concerning.
Yeah, you know what's funny, though, is that, you know, J Mall gets a really bad rap. Like, when you think about the 3 malls in the area, you would argue that J Mall is in, like, the worst area, I guess, if you will. I don't see it that way, but nonetheless. But it cracks me up because the whole chaperone policy thing that exists within the local malls has nothing to do with J Mall. It was St. Matthew's fault.
Yeah, I forgot it did start over there, didn't it? Well, as always, another good episode. You know, a lot of different things were covered. And thanks, everyone, again, for tagging along as we went down and remembered how much Chase basically was a mall rat and lived in the mall.
Yeah, definitely was a mall rat. And, you know, I'm always going to own that. It's also probably why season 3 of Stranger Things was my favorite, and that Mallrats is my favorite Kevin Smith movie. Which, speaking of Stranger Things season 3, we know that's going to be hitting this week, or not season 3. Season 3 obviously was a while ago, but volume 2 is going to be hitting here in a couple days. But anyway, all that being said, always yes, thank you all for hanging out with us. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all those good things. Reach out to us in comments, TikTok, or at the email, themidnightreleasepod@gmail.com. Yep, definitely. Probably the most important thing we'll say this entire pod is happy holidays. Hope you and your family and friends and everybody has a good holiday. We are not skipping any weeks or anything like that, so we are going to be back next week with our episode, which we kind of alluded to already last week. It's going to be called Achievement Unlocked Adulthood, so a little deeper dive into some personal aspects of why and how we are where we are now and reflecting on the nostalgia and those kinds of things. A lot of throwbacks on how, you know, we've gotten to adulthood, if you can even call it that, I guess. Anything else, or are we good?
No, I think we're good.
Well, as always, just remember, some memories are worth lining up for.